Welcome everyone, old and new, to my new podcast style series. Now, I've never done something of this style before, but it seems like there's going to be a lot of breaks in the future because breaks happen, and right now we are in the beginning of a 3-week chapter break because Oda decided to take some time off. Rumors are that he is working on the live action, but he publicly announced that he also wants to give his body a chance to recuperate because of the passing of Dragon Ball's famous author. And while I'm personally not a Dragon Ball fan, I feel for the fans who love him and how he inspired all the other manga that came after him, including One Piece. So I sympathize. So Oda being shooken by that and needing to take a rest so that he doesn't, fall health-wise, I completely understand. I don't mind breaks. So today we're going to be talking about everything that I want to talk about in the future, and this is important. In the future, simply comment down below this video, below any video after this. You could also hit up the Discord link in the description if you want to hit me up directly there. However you contact me, just let me know what your theories, ideas, predictions, anything you want me to discuss, I'll discuss it in future podcasts. So today we are after chapter 1111. So there's a lot to discuss, to be honest. First of all, we have the cover page on chapter 1111, which is the one with the fries, the French fries underwater with the jellyfish. Now, it specifically says in the title, the Straw Hats on a deep sea stroll. Now, inside the picture, we have the Straw Hats along with the Stella Vegapunk, Child Bonnie, which I guess her true age, and Bartholomew Kuma, which is very emotional and nice, knowing that they went through a lot and predicting that Kuma might not survive this arc. And people are speculating, will Bonnie and Kuma and Vegapunk join the Straw Hats? Because this says that the request of the cover page was the Straw Hats on a deep sea stroll. So are they technically going to be Straw Hats soon? And that is a great thing to discuss, in my opinion, because you always love to discuss future Straw Hats. I don't know about you, but it's just something that people love to speculate about, myself included. Now, Stella is technically dead, so we can rule him out. But other than him, technically, some of the satellites are still eligible. Shaka and Pythagoras are dead. Edison is alive but wounded. And we still have, I believe, Lilith and York, who is captured. And finally, we have Atlas. So I'm not a big fan of most of these characters. Lilith obviously is evil. No, sorry, I meant to say York. York obviously is evil at this point. But Lilith is probably my number one contender for future Straw Hat, if any. If we don't get Lilith, it makes more sense to just get none of them. Technically, Atlas might be eligible, but I'm not a big fan of Atlas joining. She's big. She might sacrifice herself for the story. Like, she doesn't fit physically or emotionally in the crew, in my opinion. Like, her character is probably, like, the least important of the surviving satellites. But yeah, Lilith is a great character. Oda's been hinting about some emotional growth there. Even though she is the evil Vegapunk, she has a great personality. She's another female, which the crew, in my opinion, desperately needs more females to balance things out. And, yeah, she's never left the island, according to her, past beyond, certain Vega Force 1 missions where she would plunder pirates. So, obviously, it's a great opportunity for a Vegapunk with all of Stella's memories because of how, the clones work and the satellites work. Yeah, she's technically still a genius. Now, obviously, Shaka was popular before he died, and Stella was also popular before he died for the message to go out. But yeah, if any satellite were to join out of the surviving satellites, it'd have to be, in my opinion, Lilith. Now, moving along in the same picture we had, like I mentioned, Bonnie and Kuma. Bonnie and Kuma are great characters, but Kuma is not in a very, very good place right now. He is technically still alive. He technically is a Devil Fruit holder. The Devil Fruit hasn't left him. So, yeah, there's a lot of predictions about his character, but I don't think he personally will join the crew. But the best thing that everyone wants, myself included, is for him to see Nika before he dies. And by that, I mean he has to regain full consciousness, because right now he's in some sort of instinctual state, from what I'm interpreting. But yeah, I want him to fully wake up, see Nika before he dies, and that would make him happy, especially if he knows Bonnie saw him too. And of course, that brings us to the last person in the picture, Bonnie. Would Bonnie join the crew? Should she join the crew? I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm not as attached to her as, say, people like Yamato or Vivi, but, and now this might be controversial. In my opinion, Vivi and Yamato are already Straw Hats. They're just honorary Straw Hats, and they'll join at a later date. I guess that goes for Kinemon and Momo too. But, and so, yeah, we'll just consider Vivi, Karu, Kinemon, Momonosuke, and Yamato all honorary Straw Hats that just aren't present. Now, would Bonnie be a full member or an honorary member? In my opinion, both are fine. It's just tricky how Oda will get that to happen, because as the author, he has to figure out whether or not he's going to do this. Maybe he already knows whether or not he's going to do it. I am not the author. I am not qualified to just on the spot make up these decisions, because it is a very, very, very big thing to choose a future Straw Hat. Like, there's so many people who aren't Straw Hats that might have become good Straw Hats in the past, and there's no time to go through that list now. So, putting that aside, we'll just assume that Lilith and Bonnie are eligible, and we'll wait to see what happens. Let's get into the actual chapter. Now, the first thing the chapter shows is, I believe, Marcus Mars, the bird one, actually breaking through the shield. Now, I don't know what percentage the shield is at, but we're assuming it's at 100%. And he gets through, which was honestly surprising to me, which proves how dumb I am, because it really shouldn't come as a surprise. Their feats are unprecedented. And the first thing Jinbei says is that its haki is unreal. So those with haki mastery to some degree are very good at detecting other people's haki. And the popular headcanon, speaking for myself at least, is that the better your observation haki is, the greater you are at detecting other people's conquerors haki level, and maybe even armament haki level. Because haki is also counting as presence. It's mostly ambitious spirit and intimidation, but it's also presence. Because these are all basically different ways to translate the same concept of haki. So Jinbei detecting that haki lets us know as readers that the Gorosei's haki is not a joke. And that really, really messes with what I would have said years ago. Years ago, my headcanon was that these old politicians are just up there and that they're not actual fighters and they don't actually have powers. Yeah, they're immortal, most likely, but like, yeah, years ago, I wasn't expecting them to be this. So I was pleasantly surprised to be proven wrong. I have been proven wrong by Oda many times this arc, and you know that's a sign of good writing. Or at least a sign that I'm not a good reader, that he loves to pull these things out of nowhere. Or technically, everyone else thought they were going to be big shots. People have been writing fan fictions about their powers, you know, before they were revealed. So I guess I was just wrong, and that's fine. We love to see it. But then we get to the Lucci moment. The Rob Lucci is real moment. The nothing happened Rob Lucci moment. He is pulling a Zoro. He's pulling a Whitebeard. The fact that he's still standing is just something that people love to talk about. Now, I'm not personally a power scaler. Personally, I find power scaling okay if you're doing it for fun, but if you take it too far, it becomes annoying, in my opinion. Normal people who aren't bogged down by personal agendas would admit that Zoro won this fight. Because Zoro, despite looking tired, sounding tired, technically did not go all out. If we think about it logically, Zoro did not put on his bandana. Zoro did not showcase King of Hell style. And Zoro did not use Ashura. And if I had to go back to chapter 11:10, I might see that he used Conqueror's Haki in his attack, but that's still vague on the level of mastery he has over it, because when he used it against Kaido, he didn't realize consciously that it was Conqueror's Haki, or at least he claimed that he didn't. I think we should agree that Zoro did not go all out against Lucci, but we can also counter-agree that Lucci gave him some level of a fight that wasn't nothing, okay? Lucci is not a pushover. This chapter proved Lucci is not a pushover. He is standing and he's not unconscious at this point after Zoro delivered that move last chapter, before this chapter. And that was the first thing that surprised me. He was still standing after all those slashes. He's covered in blood. It's nothing to scoff at. And then Jinbei interferes, stops Zoro from re-entering the fight, then hits Lucci with a 5,000 brick fist. And Lucci, well, this is technically not a direct hit because Fishman Karate is both a physical and a ranged fighting style, if you know your lore, because you're manipulating water, whatever, and hockey has to be involved. But let's see, is there any hockey? Oda specifically obscured the arm being used in this attack. So whether or not Jinbei is using serious amounts of hockey is debatable. But this was a move meant to push Lucci back, and he literally goes out of his leopard form, and his black clouds disappear. And then Mars shows up and asks, where is York? And Lucci is shook. So we can conclude from that Lucci lost the fight, but he did not lose consciousness. Whether or not that's debatable is clear. It is debatable, but some people might say that no, Lucci did not lose because he was standing and he did not lose consciousness. Other people will insist, no, Lucci did lose because Zoro was not injured the way Lucci was, and Lucci powered down after Jinbei interfered. Meaning, if Jinbei had not interfered, Zoro had plenty of energy left to, if he wanted to go all out, or whether or not he even needed to go all out, he could have still wiped Lucci out. He could have finished the job. I agree with that statement. I think Lucci could have been taken out if Jinbei hadn't shown up. But Jinbei showing up was necessary for the plan overall. So he's still speaking, Lucci is. So he was impressively durable as an awakened Zoan. Not surprising. But I think that's enough talking about, oh wow, Hattori actually comes in. I did not notice that my first read. That is great to see. He just shows up. That is so cute. But then, the second thing that I was surprised to find out, and he really proved that I misjudged him, is that he showed compassion for Kaku. He requested to the Gorosei that Kaku be spared. And of course they say that's not, easy to guarantee. It might not be possible. Don't count on it. But the fact that Lucci requested that, maybe it's from a logical point of view or a practical point of view as a resource, but that's not what the pre-time skip Lucci was about. The pre-time skip Lucci literally killed, or allegedly killed, the other CP9 member Nero just for being weak. Why would Kaku, who proved he was beaten, receive more respect from a literal psychopath like Rob Lucci? So Rob has some sort of conscience in there, if only because they got close after spending so many years together. Now, that's the way I'm going to interpret it. I'm going to interpret it is that Rob Lucci and Kaku are friends, which is very surprising because Rob Lucci's character, for all these years as a character in One Piece, has been popular because he's a psychopath, I thought. Like, I thought people loved him because of the whole Water 7 betrayal arc and all that. But the fact that he actually shows some ounce of compassion was shocking to me when I first read the chapter. And you can see my reaction video. You can see it on my channel. So yeah, this was, in my opinion, a big deal. This will be very interesting to see animated. Moving along. What else happened in this chapter? Mostly the giant stuff is not that interesting to me. It was great when they first appeared. I'm still disappointed that the giants appeared instead of the Grand Fleet, because the Straw Hat Grand Fleet is something I personally love more than Dorian Broggy, but that's just me. They're going to appear later. We know that. The Grand Fleet will appear later, but the giants are here now, and we're trying to escape. Overall, the chapters are slow in this aspect, but the Gorosei are really, really carrying their weight. Because then we finally see Warkiri, the Gorosei, make a feat of his own using a roar charged with Conqueror's Haki. And it was so powerful that it literally blew every detail off of Luffy, including all of his scars, his eyeballs, his sandals, and his hat. You know, cartoon style. I found that gag hilarious. It's gonna be probably funnier in the anime, but that's how it is. So, yeah, none of these Gorosei are a joke. I'm just putting it out there again. And the fact that he could turn his tusks into swords, that was crazy. That was crazy. And the fact that the giants could defend against him, also impressive. Moving right along, we have the moment where Saturn attacks with poison, Luffy turns a tree into a baseball bat, conjures up paint and a helmet, and whops that poison, which explodes, back at them, which was hilarious again. Gotta see that animated years from now. But of course they regenerate, including, if I remember correctly, the chapter before 1111, Luffy was swallowed by the sandworm Jupiter, and they cut him open to save him, just like what happened on Little Garden all those years ago. But of course, it looks like Jupiter is regrowing after being cut in half. Saturn and Warkiri are regenerating after being exploded by those poison balls. And yeah, in Luffy's words, they can't die. Now, for those of you who don't know, in my community tab, I have a lot of interactive stuff. For those of you who don't know, they are really interesting if you love One Piece. I have a quiz once a week with some random piece of trivia. But recently, I have been doing more than just that. I have been doing chapter opinion polls, where I ask stuff about what happened in the chapter and see whether or not you liked it, or what you think of it. So, for this chapter specifically, you can go on my community tab and answer in the poll yourself. I asked, in your opinion, what is the main source of the Five Elders' infinite regeneration? And the majority of you think it is some unknown dark magic or emu, with less people thinking it is effect of the perpetual immortality operation, specifically former users of the Op-Op fruit, and the smallest percentage thought that infinite regeneration comes from mastering a mythical zone awakening. And the reason that was an option, and I personally chose that option myself, we already know that zone awakenings offer great durability and not necessarily physical regeneration, but like stamina regeneration. So I thought, what if fully mastering a mythical zone awakening offers you infinite regeneration beyond what we saw from Jailer Beasts or from Luffy? So yeah, that was my opinion. But no, it looks like the majority of people at this point in time think it has to do with something that is fully unexplained as of now, dark magic or emu. And the second poll, which I posted 2 days ago, was, in your opinion, what is the likely source of the Five Elders' long-distance telepathic communication? Not to be confused with their magic circle teleportation summoning, which is how they got to the island. And of course, the majority of people think it is unknown magic or emu, or that they're just non-human and that they have this telepathic communication power. But the second option, which less people chose, was that it is an application of observation haki or even the voice of all things. I put those two together just so that people who think the voice of all things is observation haki have no qualms. But personally, I don't know whether the voice of all things is observation or not. I just decided to make it simpler and have two choices. So a lot of people think that Emu is some unknown magic user, because I tend to agree that some of these things, specifically the teleportation is unexplainable at this point in time. I don't think that is their devil fruits, because they have 5 different devil fruits. They are 5 different mythical zones. It doesn't make sense for all of them to have teleportation as a power. And technically, I could say the same thing for their telepathy. I can't say the same thing about regeneration, because regeneration might just be their Zoan fruits being mythical awakened, whatever. But no, the magic circle teleportation and the telepathy, it looks like magic, it doesn't look like devil fruits. And the last thing that happened in the chapter was that Bonnie and, let's see, Sanji, Vegapunk, a bunch of, let's see, Frankie, I guess, Brooke. No, I'm getting confused about where they are. The point is, there's a bunch of vice admirals in their way, stopping them from getting to the Giant's ship. Specifically, Bonnie got there first. So we have 3 vice admirals: Guillotine, Red King, and the Otter Dude. And I think that people like Usopp, people like Brooke and Frankie, and maybe even Kuma, I think they can handle the vice admirals. No reason to dwell on that. And one other thing that I really loved in this chapter, I bet you all loved it too, was keeping the emotions running when it comes to Kizaru. He's saying his wounds run deep. Like, the fact that he had to kill Vegapunk, which we're going to assume he's dead. Yeah, Kizaru, what a character arc. The fact that he did not turn like people hoped really disappointed me, but I'm still glad that there's emotions involved, that he actually cared, that he was actually friends with him, and that he maybe not regrets, but part of him hates or doesn't love that he had to do it. He is very, very, I don't know how to describe this feeling that he's feeling. Is this just grief, I guess? I don't know. Grief is not something I'm very familiar with personally. So the fact that Oda is making Kizaru go through this seems to imply that something might be with him in the future of the story, maybe next chapter or so. But he can't turn now. It's too late for him. He already killed Vegapunk. He cannot go back. He's chosen what he did, and he, like, making his choice like that, I had hope for him turning at the last minute, but he is gone beyond the point of no return. So sadly, it looks like he, made his bed and now he has to sleep in it. And the final panels of the chapter was, of course, the Iron Giant finally waking up. And what does he say? Forgive me, Joy Boy. Now this is where theories get deep, because people are making connections. Joy Boy, at least the original one, wrote in the Fishman Island poneglyph that is still there, not to be confused with the one that used to be there but no longer is, wrote an apology to the former Poseidon, the former mermaid princess, apologizing for breaking a promise of unknown details. Now, this is obviously related to the Void Century. The fact that the ancient kingdom lost is most likely related to the reason Joy Boy apologized to the former mermaid princess. But then we get this curveball that the Iron Giant is apologizing to Joy Boy. Why would the Iron Giant apologize to Joy Boy? Well, the answer would be obvious. Generally speaking, he's apologizing for failing him in some way. That is the general consensus among the readers. What did he fail in? Well, maybe it has something to do with losing the war 800 years ago. That much is obvious. But then we have Zunisha, who also knew Joy Boy. And Zunisha's been alive this whole time. So we have this web of characters from 800 years ago. We have Joy Boy, we have the former mermaid princess, we have the Iron Giant, and we have Zunisha the elephant. So there's a lot of lore being hinted at here, and I'd love to speculate. But it's just, like, the general stuff is obvious, but the specifics are impossible to predict, because Oda's going to throw a curveball at some point, and no one's going to get it 100% right. But like I mentioned, the general stuff is obvious. Somehow the Iron Giant failed Joy Boy. Now, we could either predict one of two things. Either he failed him in the sense that he tried his best, or he failed him in the sense that there was some betrayal involved, which would be really interesting. But I'm just throwing that out there as a mention. What else is there to know about this Iron Giant? Is it sentient? Is it a suit meant to be worn? Did it used to be alive? Like, is it a homie? Like Big Mom's fruit created it in the past? Or is it something created in some other aspect? It's impossible to tell. Is it fully technological? Is it supernatural? Is it a product of a devil fruit? Is it still a living being that just happened to be asleep for hundreds of years? Because then you gotta remember that it attacked Marijua 200 years ago, after Fishman Island gained rights. And it failed to complete that attack because it ran out of energy, allegedly. And that begs the question, or to be more accurate, it raises the question, why did it happen to appear then? In the fact, like, is it related to the Fishman incident? Is it that, and there's a lot of theories going through my mind. I'm trying to ask the question, where was it for the 600 years before that point? Obviously, it was sitting on Egeta Island recently, after it lost energy and it was captured, blah, blah, blah. So it was here for the last 200 years. Where was it for the 600 years before it attacked Marijua? It appeared out of nowhere. And in the recent anime episode, I was reminded that Vegapunk told Luffy, no one knows where it came from. So it was at an unknown location for 600 years between the Void Century and its attack 200 years ago. It could have been anywhere. It could have been at the bottom of the ocean. It could have been literally anywhere. It could have been on the moon. Who knows? So 200 years ago, it appeared out of nowhere for unknown reasons. And I have a lot of theories about that. One of my theories is that someone took control of it as revenge. Like someone evil took control of it as revenge because they did not want Fishman Island to get rights. So they wanted to attack Marijua in order to keep Fishman down. But that's not a good theory. I admit it. It's not a good theory. It's not even my first theory. It's just something that I came up with on the spot because it makes more sense that the Iron Giant is sentient and that the Iron Giant was attacking Marijua in order to fully free Fishman Island, which brings me to my second theory. My second theory is that because Marijua gave Fishman Island rights, but as we all know, they continued the slave market, that means that they're being hypocrites in the world government. There's corruption and hypocrisy. And the Iron Giant was responding to that, hey, if you're going to give Fishman Island rights to join the Reverie and become a nation of the world, why is there still slavery going on? So whoever activated it 200 years ago was probably influenced by the hypocrisy of pretending to give Fishman Island rights, but not abolishing slavery, which has continued to this day in places like Sabaody. That is the better theory, in my opinion. Of course, it could be a coincidence, the Fishman Island detail, because this thing looks like an ancient giant. It looks like oars, but it doesn't look to be as big as oars. It might simply be like as big as a regular giant, but its horns are reminiscent of an ancient giant like oars. And the best theories out there all have connections between the ancient giants, oars, and the original Joy Boy. Whether you're talking about Onigashima, which this is a very awkward segue into the cover story with Yamato, which I guess we don't have to discuss because we haven't seen that in this chapter. But yeah, whether you're talking about Onigashima, whether you're talking about Little Oars Jr., whether you're talking about the oars from Thriller Bark, the connections between them and Joy Boy are massive. Like, there's so many theories noticing stuff like the sun on the sails of Little Oars Jr.'s ship, the fact that Oars was in a Thriller Bark freezer, number 900, said to pull continents, which matches Wano's description of a bunch of islands with different seasons smushed together. That's obviously Oars is doing. Whether we're talking about the Onigashima Oars, who might be Oars' father, which I think we can all surmise that the Oars on Thriller Bark was the second Oars, and Little Oars Jr. was the third Oars, but that's not important. Let's go back to this chapter. What is Joy Boy being apologized to for? Failure. Okay, we got that out of the way. So, the last thing I want to talk about before finishing this podcast is the broadcast. The broadcast is, in my opinion, very important, but it might be a bluff, both on Vegapunk's part and or Oda's part. Some sort of red herring, some sort of twist is going to happen. I am calling it now. Now, the fact that there's 7 minutes left, and I'm trying to see where the confirmation for that is. 6 minutes left. Okay, 6 minutes left for the message, according to Lucci. He's been paying attention. Good job, Lucci. So 6 minutes left for the message. Here is what I think was going to happen. Other people are saying that the message might not actually be broadcasting from this place, and it's some sort of red herring. It might be from another place. Some people think Baltimore on Karakuri Island, Mechanical Island, which is far away. Some people think it's being broadcast from O'Hara, the ultimate irony. Those are all great theories, in my opinion, but they might be wrong. We don't know. And some people are saying, what if he's not actually trying to tell the world the truth of the world? What if that's just bait? What if that's just bait and that he was making a gamble, the ultimate gamble, that he will get all of the Gorsei to desperately show up in person so that after the 10 minutes pass, he gets footage from snails to show the world visual evidence that the Gorosei are monsters. Now, this theory is risky because what are the chances that Vegapunk, genius as he is, would predict that the Gorosei would show up in person just by threatening to reveal the world's secrets? So that's one problem with the theory. Actually, no. The real problem isn't that he's not smart enough. He's plenty smart enough to predict that. Because obviously, they would be desperate if you threatened to reveal the world's secrets. You've proven you know the secrets. They know about the O'Hara incident now, I assume. I don't know. So I don't think it's too much of a gamble. But the problem with the theory is that I actually am willing to admit that he's actually going to reveal the world's secrets. The secret of the Void Sentry. If he's actually going to reveal those secrets, then this wasn't just bait or a bluff, and that the theory might be wrong in that case. What I'm trying to say is that it could be both. What if he is going to reveal the world's secrets, but as a bonus, he has some sort of backup system in plan to prove that they're monsters with visual evidence? But I guess the world doesn't need to see that right away, but that might be what the Egghead incident is. The Egghead incident has to conclude soon, and we know that it will shake the world according to what was spoken by the narrator earlier this arc. It's been a long time since those chapters. Yeah, the Egghead incident has to be huge, and so it just might be that the world finds out the world's secrets, and they even might see the Gorosei's true forms before this arc ends. And it would be wild if it's being broadcast from O'Hara or places like that, but what we do know for sure is that the heart monitor, which was, keeping track of Vegapunk's life, and which triggered the broadcast, whether remotely or not, is in the labo phase. Because even the anime showed that heart monitor for a second when they enter the control room. If you pay attention, that control room in the labo phase is where the heart monitor is. That is probably for sure, if I'm right. So it could all be wrong, all these theories. The broadcast could be here, but Mars has already made it through with his hockey, made it through the force field, the barrier, with no trouble. So, yeah, if it's actually being broadcast from here, that's a mistake. That's a mistake because Vegapunk should know the Gorosei could get through that barrier. But who knows? Maybe he didn't know as much as we thought. He's dead. We can't ask him. But wouldn't it be crazy? And this is just a joke, more of a gag, really. Wouldn't it be crazy if this whole time he faked his death? Like, what if Vegapunk's not actually dead? Because after Sanji, quote-unquote, dropped the ball and let Kizaru kill Vegapunk, which, I'm not trying to hate on Sanji here, but that's kind of what happened, because I guess Kizaru caught him off guard. I'm not gonna dwell on it too much, but yeah, even Oda drew Vegapunk with X's for eyes. I think the man's dead, and even Sanji is unfortunately not aware of that completely. What if Vegapunk planned this? What if he is playing 4D chess? What if he is freaking Light Yagami or Light from Death Note? What if Vegapunk is so many steps ahead that he somehow cloned himself and he's actually alive and let his clone get killed by Kizaru, or maybe a robot or something, and he's actually alive. That would be crazy. And faking his death this way just reminds me, and here's where the gag comes in. It just reminds me of a certain scene, and he'd be like, "Listen, Shaka, we're gonna make a vat of acid. Except instead of a vat of acid, it's gonna be Kizaru, right? And Kizaru, like, he's secretly on our side, just like what's her face, Stussy, right? And yeah, I know Stussy's gonna die too, but like she's alive. We just haven't seen her for a few chapters. Like, yeah, what did happen to Stussy? And then, listen, Morty. I mean, Sanji. I mean, Shaka. We're gonna fake our death, right? And Kizaru's gonna blow a laser right through my heart, right? And then everyone's gonna think I'm dead, right? And then this heart monitor is gonna think I'm dead, and the heart monitor is gonna trigger this message that we're gonna pre-record, and we're gonna threaten to reveal the secrets of the Void Century to the entire world, and that is gonna be big news. I don't know if that was a good Rick Sanchez impression. The point is, like, what if this is a vat of acid thing? Like, what if... Nah, I'm pretty sure he's dead. But, like, it would be the ultimate twist. Watch Oda do this. It'll be the ultimate twist. If Vegapunk is, like, 10 steps ahead and he's actually alive. Nah, I think Oda's subtle. But at the same time, I think sometimes he's on the nose. He is not always going to do a twist. I think I'm going too far with this. I would be so happy if he faked his death. Because, like, I don't think Kizaru is faking. I don't think he's a double agent. Which, again, reminds me of Stussy. Like, maybe these were all valid theories in the past, but now, after what we've seen in the last few chapters, I think Kizaru is actually conflicted. I think he's not a double agent. And I think there's barely a 1% chance that Stella faked his death. I think he's actually dead. And I don't think the broadcast is on a different island either, but there's a good chance it is. There's a good chance it is. Out of all the theories, that's probably the best one. Other than that, the Gorosei is something to behold. Personally, their goofiness is unsettling, and in a good way, I mean. But, yeah. So, again, I reiterate, old fans, new fans, everyone who's watching this, whether you're subscribed or not, just comment down below all of your theories, ideas, opinions, what you thought of this chapter, what you think is going to happen next chapter, and I will use that as discussion material. Now, this was the first time, again, I'm mentioning that I made some sort of podcast-type style video, but yeah, there's going to be breaks in the future, which is going to be the opportunities for this type of video, because instead of reacting to a chapter, I am reviewing a chapter and talking about whatever comes to mind while rereading it. So, thanks for all of you who stood here all this time, and I'll see you next time.